Chapter 6. The Golden Flame. There was a thick mist. It danced through the night, blinding Elpis. He stayed close to Primum's side, trying to navigate as they wandered through the wispy void. "I can't see anything," Elpis mutters. "This is some thick mist. Hopefully it means we are close," Primum says reassuringly. The Prince of Golden Flame, nestled in the mist. "Well, there is mist," Elpis says, as the moonlight shimmers on a wisp of fog. A cold dew blankets him as he walks. Off in the distance, Elpis can vaguely hear the sound of livestock rustling. "Primum, do you hear that?" Elpis exclaims. "Shh," Primum says as he brings a finger to his mouth and grabs Elpis. "Do not be so eager yet. We are unsure of what we are walking into. Be wary. Monsters are one thing, people are another." Elpis begins to see a faint shimmer reflecting through the mist as the void slowly warms to gray. Dawn is coming. "Did we make it?" Elpis asks. Primum stays silent. He looks down at Elpis and studies him. "Well, I am not one to decipher prophecy. We went east, and here we are," Primum says while rubbing his chin. "Before we do anything, Elpis, first we need to cover your face." "My face? Why?" Elpis asks, confused. "You're the most recognizable boy that has lived. I have never met anyone with silver hair and violet eyes." "Really?" Elpis says, grabbing his hair to examine it. "Yes. If this town has a single cultist, there is no doubt they would report you in an instant." "But you attract attention yourself, Primum." Primum chuckles. "Yes. My devilish charm makes me impossible to miss." "No. I am talking about that armor and that axe. I have never seen anyone like you." "You haven't seen much of anything, Elpis," Primum says, giving a dismissive smile. "Here, boy. I held onto those rags. Come over here. Let's cover your face," Primum says, as he bends down to rummage through his rucksack. "You don't think that would also be suspicious?" "Well, I didn't say it's going to work. We are just playing a game of odds." "Ah," Elpis says. "Everything about survival is just gauging your odds," Primum says as he fastens the makeshift hood over Elpis. The sun begins to cut through the mist, and the remaining fog pools beneath them. Elpis begins to hear the hums of daily life. He catches whiffs of smoke. Primum grabs Elpis by the arm and kneels towards him. "Do you see that tree line beside us? I need you to stay there for a moment." "Okay," Elpis nods, "but I want to see the village." "Soon you will, but first I need to go gauge our odds." Elpis heads to the tree line and sits between a patch of shrubbery and a thick tree root. The roots seem to twist around him as if they are alive. He shifts, trying to get comfortable, before being pricked by the shrubs. "This forest has tested me for too long. I wish to sit by a fire, not the wet ground," Elpis thinks to himself, pouting. The mist parts and the ground drinks in the sunlight over the morning sky. The earth itself seems to radiate a golden hue. Golden flame. This must be it. Elpis nods to himself assuredly as he grabs a small twig to dig at the earth. The sound from the village carries farther and louder. Elpis hears shouts and laughter of people. The livestock responds to their conversations with even louder cries. "This is what life sounds like," Elpis smiles to himself. He closes his eyes and listens, imagining what society could look like. He feels excitement, anxiety, and curiosity all at once. Elpis hears light footsteps nearby. He turns to look deeper into the forest. The morning fog spans forever between the trees, giving it a sense of enchantment. Elpis marvels at the beauty, but he feels a sense of dread, as if he is being watched. He continues to stare into the forest, trying to locate the source of the footsteps, when suddenly his ears are assaulted by a scream. Elpis covers his ears, but it offers no relief. It is as if the scream is resonating from within his skull. I see you. The golden hue of the forest fades, and it turns grim and dark. Elpis shoots up from the roots and jerks to flee. He looks one last time into the forest. It had felt as if it spanned forever, and now its darkness is so powerful it seems to swallow everything as it draws near him. He will not save you. Elpis feels the roar of the wind's howl as leaves cut his face. He runs, but on his first step he immediately slams into something and falls to the ground. "Are you okay?" Primum asks, concerned. Elpis looks up to see Primum standing over him. He turns back again to the forest. The golden horizon has returned among the trees. "Yeah, just had a nightmare," Elpis says, trying to ground himself. Primum looks down at him for a moment. "I see. Well, I have some details about our situation and the Prince of Golden Flame." "You do? That's amazing, Primum. So what's the prince? Is it a person? Are we safe? Did you find the envoy?" "Oh, the prince is most certainly a person. Yes, I did find the envoy." Primum pauses. "And no, we are not safe." Elpis sighs in frustration. "Well, there is some good news. It's not just a prince. It's the second Prince Aedric's legionnaires, the Harpy Company." Elpis gives a confused look. "What's so special about the second prince?" "Well, most princes are just useless despots, more in the way than any actual contribution to the empire. Aedric is an exception. He is a legend on the battlefield, and a prodigal oromancer who has been through countless impossible odds and lived." Elpis smiles. "This is great news. I can petition him and we are saved, Primum." That's what's concerning me. I went to scout for the envoy before I approached the village. And? Elpis interrupts impatiently. "And they have taken heavy casualties. They have wounded. It's a small fighting force that is solely held together by the prince." "Tsk!" Elpis clicks his tongue in anger. "The situation looks difficult for the prince. Even if you petition him, he will most likely deny you an audience. Then there is the next issue. He isn't particularly known for being orthodox." "Orthodox?" "He is more of a man who prefers results than piety. If you tell him you need help because the cult of Erebus is after you, he will just kill you and not waste his time figuring out why." "What?" Elpis says, shocked. "Well then, so much for the prince," Elpis says, waving his arm. "Hold on, I didn't say we weren't going to petition him. We just have to do it correctly. I have a plan, Elpis. Walk with me. It's time to head into the village." "Wait, Primum, are you sure this is a good idea? Walking into this trap?" Primum turns to Elpis. "Elpis, I will be truthful with you. This is dangerous, but it's our best option. Time is limited, and if you focus on the best static plan, it will only slow you down. Keep your mind sharp, observe, and trust me. We will leave with Aedric." Elpis feels a pit in his stomach. He grips his fists and steels his resolve. No matter what the trials, I won't go back. Primum stands with a look of concern for Elpis. "Do you need time?" "No, I'm ready." "That's the Gorthok I know. Just another day in the Southlands, eh?" Elpis nods and walks forward. "Good. Means you're alive and sharp," Primum says, moving toward the village. A chilling wind blows toward them. Elpis glances at the forest. He feels another chill down his spine. He is being watched. Elpis jerks and runs to Primum. He can see a worn-down village on the horizon. The township is in a wretched state, as if it has been abandoned for decades. A hunched, burly man approaches them from the dilapidated gate. "Who are you two?" he yells in a gruff voice. Elpis turns his face to avoid eye contact. "Just a wandering apothecary with my apprentice." "I have never seen an apothecary so well armed." "I have never seen a village in such a sorry state." Primum grins. "Then you haven't been in the south for long," the man states with disdain. "Well, a minute more here is longer than anyone would like in their lifetime." The man chuckles. "Let me look at the boy," the old man says, as he starts to approach Elpis. Elpis feels a sudden shock, and his eyes widen as he hears the man shuffle nearer. He pulls his hood further down and faces the ground. Primum raises his arm. Elpis makes eye contact with him through the thin fibers of the hood. "Sorry," he is mire-touched. "It's contagious. Keep your distance." The man tries to catch a glimpse of Elpis around Primum's arm. "I have never heard of a mire-touched." "Really? I wasn't aware you were also an apothecary." The man stammers in confusion. "Oh?" Primum places his hand on the man's shoulder and leans in to his ear. "Would you like to see why I am armed?" he says with an intimidating grin. The man freezes stiff. "Come, Elpis." Elpis nods and moves forward. He stares deep into the murky, muddy soil, avoiding eye contact with the man. Elpis tightens his fists. They walk for a few moments into the town. There is an eerie silence. Elpis raises his head from the ground and looks around. "Where is everyone, Primum?" Elpis feels the rocky earth suddenly tug beneath him. Primum makes a sudden stop and reaches out to Elpis. The boy feels a sense of weightlessness. He looks down to see a flash of a steep cliff and the valley beneath him. Before Elpis can think to breathe, Primum throws him back. He catches his breath. "I thought you were looking down," Primum laughs. "You did that on purpose. You could have told me," Elpis says angrily as he brushes rocky dirt from his back. "I told you. Observe." Elpis stands and looks down into the valley. He sees a village below. The valley is littered with hide huts covered in ancient slick bones, holding the hides together, as if they are ripping them open. Livestock wanders in the valley, and a large group is gathered toward a massive gate, like the wretched hands of the dead coiling around the living. "Primum, how do we get down there?" "Through that ledge over there." He points to the right. Elpis sees a narrow cliff path sloping down into the abyss. "Primum, I can't pass. It's too small." "Of course you can. The shepherds passed it easily this morning." Elpis walks towards the ledge and looks down. He sees a pool of mist floating beneath him, as if he is at the edge of the world. He looks back at Primum standing with an encouraging grin. Elpis nods. Primum returns it and follows behind him. Elpis slowly descends the narrow ledge. He hugs the sharp rock and inches along step by step. He feels some soil loosen beneath him and quickly adjusts his footing. A patch of earthen soil crumbles from where his foot was. Elpis lets out an adrenaline-filled sigh and continues. Primum follows close behind. The narrow ledge begins to widen. The earthen soil begins to show patches of life beneath it. They descend deep into the valley and reach the base. They hear a commotion coming from the ghastly gate. "See? Nothing to worry about. A hero has gotten all the attention." "You think it's them?" "I'd say the odds favor that assumption." Elpis and Priamum walk towards the gate. They see a massive crowd of mud-covered villagers wearing hide clothing littered with an assortment of animal bones. Priamum pushes through the crowd. Elpis follows through the narrow openings. Several legionnaires, adorned in bright silver armor and draped in white, gold, and blue fine fabric, shove the crowd aside. An aged man with short gray hair and a finely groomed, chin-length graying beard, clad in golden armor and white silken banners, roars from behind the legionnaires. "Everyone back! Make room for your prince!" The crowd goes still. There is a silence, and then murmurs. "He is not our prince. We do not obey the Empire." The legionnaires slowly begin to reach for their weapons, then a gentle push moves them aside. A bronze-skinned man raises his left arm. His eyes are as green as a lush forest, giving a soothing sense of calm to his commanding presence. He wears a fine, silver-braided white dolman and an elegant blue please draped over him, down to his fine, white pleated pants. His long, vibrant blonde hair is tied in a tight, uniform bun. He speaks in a soft, pleasing tone, yet with absolute authority. "Dear Southerns, I am Adric. We did not come to command fealty. We have come with aid, as is our duty to our people." The murmurs begin to quiet, and the legionnaires ease their hands from their weapons. "We are passing through to bring new trade, new opportunities, and an offer not of conquest, but of partnership." The crowd stays silent. Then suddenly a voice shouts from within, "Liar! The Empire could never conquer us. You come to lure us to depend on you. We have survived here before your Empire, and we will outlast your Empire." "Yeah," the crowd shouts. Elpis looks towards Priamum. The rising tension is palpable as the legionnaires once again prepare themselves. Elpis begins to breathe heavily and tightens his fist until it aches deep in the bone. Priamum winks at Elpis. Elpis gives him a confused look. The crowd becomes more and more vocal before a sudden silence falls once again. The people begin to separate, to let an elderly man wearing a massive bear hood, adorned in horns, slowly walk toward Aedric. The wind shifts as Aedric and the elderly man quietly stand a few feet apart. Both sides begin to breathe in rhythm, riding the edge of adrenaline. "Our people welcome you, Prince Aedric, to Durgasti. Dine with us, Prince," the man calls, waving his arms to his people. Aedric nods and reaches out his arm. The elderly man returns the gesture. They grip wrists with unease. The gathered group quietly disperses. Aedric releases his grip. The elderly man grins. "We have been eagerly awaiting an envoy for decades. Forgive us. We did not expect the Empire to ever return." "The Empire has always made its obligation to the South clear, but we can only tolerate so much. However, even in spite of centuries of conflict, our duty to you remains the same. I have personally come to honor our commitment." Aedric places his arm to his chest and gives a light bow. "I am honored, Prince. We will prepare you a feast to rival any celebration in the Heartlands. Tonight, we welcome you like true Southerns." "You honor me." Aedric pauses. "I am Thalnun of Vashnik, Boneborn tribe," the elderly man interrupts. Aedric's brows twitch with a twinge of ire before he quickly regains his calm demeanor. "My men require rest before the celebration. Before we speak further, where may we set camp, Thalnun?" Thalnun laughs. "Here, of course, in front of the Marrow Gate. There is no higher honor, my prince, I assure you." Elpis catches a sinister glint in Thalnun's smile. He gestures for Priamum to lean closer. Primum, what's going on? They are having a feast in front of this terrifying gate, it would seem. That doesn't sound like a feast to me. Primum bobs his head. You never know with southern tribes. Could be a custom, could be a trap. But we assume the latter. We gotta warn the prince. Easy there. You're not going to get in his good graces by speaking the obvious. Oh, Elpis says with disappointment. Adric's and Thalnoon's conversation becomes quieter. They exchange a brief bow, and Thalnoon departs. As he is walking, he briefly turns, facing Elpis. The boy catches a glimpse of his once sinister smile warped into a foreboding grin. Elpis shakes Primum's arm. Primum, did you see that? Yes, he nods. What's the plan? We wait till the feast. Elpis turns to Primum. What? He exclaims. You two. Elpis freezes. He feels a sudden shock travel down his spine. He turns. Who are you? Adric commands. Just travelers wandering through. Primum casually responds. I was unaware the Southlands had visitors. We are not visiting, Your Highness. Locals, then? No. The boy is sick. We are looking for a cure. His family has paid me handsomely to find it. Cure? Aye. And what cure lies in this place? Primum walks forward and gestures for Elpis to follow. The boy looks to Primum, then back to the prince. He stammers for a moment, flustered, then follows behind. The kind of cure that doesn't exist in the Empire, Your Highness, Primum says, waving his hand as if disregarding the prince entirely. Stop! The man in golden armor shouts. Elpis freezes. Primum slowly turns around to face the prince. The prince is not done speaking with you, cur, the man screams. Adric waves his hand at the man. The golden-armored warrior bites his tongue, but his face turns bright red with rage. I have never seen a mercenary so adept at keeping a child in his guard. There was not a single moment where that boy was exposed. Tell me, how can peasants afford such an elite mercenary? The goddess called on me to help, and I serve her faithfully. Primum places his hand on his chest and bows. Adric turns and walks toward his men. Primum turns back to Elpis, still frozen. Stick close to me, Primum whispers. Elpis nods and follows him. He can feel an air of suspicion surrounding them, slowly inching closer like the fog around his feet. He grips his fists and lowers his head, sticking close to Primum. They wander through narrow alleys of sinking mud. Each passerby stops and eyes them quietly, whispering faintly to one another. Primum, I must admit, I'm not familiar with society, but this feels odd. Primum scans a crossroads before gesturing for Elpis to follow. Southerners are distrusting of outsiders, especially the tribes. Why? Elpis asks, nearly slipping in the mud. Primum laughs. A bit distracted today, eh, Elpis? Elpis looks up, irritated. I would feel a lot more comfortable, Primum, if you could answer my questions. They walk into an alley surrounded by local villagers. Animal carcasses are strung about. A gamey stench fills the murky air. Answers rarely ease anxiety. Focus on what you can control. I told you the plan. Observe. What am I looking for? Information. Elpis scans the alley. He notices men skinning animals, women preparing meat. Then he notices 3 men wearing pelted deer hoods emerge from one of the larger tents. Primum, why are those men wearing those hoods? And look. Elpis sees one of the men staying back by the tent, as if he were guarding something. It looks like he is guarding something, he says, assured. Good eye. What do you suggest we do then? Go in the tent. Let's see what they're hiding. Primum shakes his head. No. Look at all these people. Each and every one of them knows each other. He is not guarding the tent. They all are. Well? Elpis thinks for a moment. He studies the two men walking through the crowd. The locals seem to move apart from them, as if they naturally push them away. We should follow those two. I would say that sounds like a wise assessment, my dear boy. Primum and Elpis attempt to follow, but the crowd grows denser. Elpis loses sight of the hooded men. Primum tries to push through before a man confronts them. Thunvak, Maroken. 4 men immediately turn and surround Elpis. He feels his anxiety spike, but he remembers Primum's words and tries to follow the hooded silhouettes through the press of bodies. Akrana, Vashdreg, Primum says. The men look perplexed. Varakta Akrun, Katar Marokken, one of them says, and they disperse. Primum's face shifts. He looks visibly irritated. Were you able to keep track of them, Primum? No. Let's keep walking. Outlanders, a sharp voice calls out. Elpis turns. He sees a woman with silken black hair, covered in rugged, thick hide, gesturing to them. Primum walks toward the woman, and Elpis follows close behind. You are not from here, but you are not with those imperial Maroken. What brings you to our village? The woman says with a warm smile. Elpis opens his mouth to speak, before Primum quickly interrupts. The forest guided us down this path. What tribe are you two from? Hush, Primum hisses. Are you trying to get us killed, woman? Welcome home, Southbourne sons, the woman shouts. The busy alley turns silent. Elpis feels his anxiety rise as he scans the stairs of each person. His legs begin to quiver. He tightens every fiber to control the fear. Then suddenly the crowd shouts, Vashkara, Akrun Nat, welcome, sons of the South. My, things have certainly changed, Primum says as he scans the crowd. Akrukfal warned us about you two. Only a true Southern can scare him the way you did, a man says in a friendly tone. The woman laughs. Come, brothers, let us guide you to the elder. We must contact your tribe. My son and I still need time. Time to adjust. Of course. Things were different a decade ago, but Erebus has changed things, brother. It's true, the tribes are united, the woman exclaims. Primum stands quietly, but Elpis notices a hint of surprise. I heard, and we came, but I have yet to see my tribesmen. Worry not, brothers. The tribes gather tonight, to feast on the Empire's corpse. Elpis's eyes open wide in shock. He looks down at his feet. His vision starts to blur. Everything shakes before him. His ears begin to ring. He hears roaring laughter and movement surrounding him, spiraling. What is this? Hell? He tightens his fists, deeper past the bone-cutting skin, tightens every fiber. Slowly, the blurry haze comes into focus. His breathing returns. He looks up. Primum is facing him. Walk with me. Primum leans in. Quickly. Primum strides through the alley. Elpis follows. He looks and sees everything differently now. Each warm smile has a sinister twinge. The carving of bone, skin, meat suddenly sickens him, and the stench of game now overwhelms him almost like blood. They reach a rather empty crossroad. Elpis leans over and gasps for air. He feels his lungs expand, yet he yearns for more. And then he vomits. I cautioned you to be wary about prophecy, Primum says, leaning on a desolate bone pillar. Primum, Huff. What are we going to do? Nothing has changed, except leverage. We have to tell. Shh, Primum gestures. We wander, we mingle, we stay quiet, until the feast. Elpis gathers his composure and leans close to Primum. Promise you can get us out of this. I make no promises about myself, but we can get out of this. I promise you that. Elpis nods. So we wait. And so we wait. Primum lets out a mirthless laugh. Elpis and Primum rest near a worn post. Movement is constant around them. Men and women of all kinds slowly carry disgusting amounts of meat and bone through the harrowing town toward the gates. Elpis catches whiffs of the foul smell. This smells worse than the cave with the Sron Pianak. Dusk approaches. The cliff casts a massive shadow over the town, as if it is swallowing everyone into an abyss. The commotion from midday has shifted toward the gate. Drums can now be heard, echoing in the valley in a foreboding beat. Dum, 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 thum. Elpis, Primum says with a stillness. I can't protect you through this. You're going to have to be on your feet. Elpis stays quiet, his mind blank. He feels a numbness inside him. You can't freeze. Not for a second. Understood. Yeah, he says quietly. Let's go, Elpis, Primum says, slowly walking toward the front gate. Elpis looks back at the slab of earth hanging above. Gray clouds gather overhead, swallowing the last of the light. No matter what. I won't go back, he says with quiet resolve, then heads to Primum's side. They approach the gates. All light has been swallowed. The blazes from the fires only seem to cast deeper shadows over the gate. The shadows now hang over them, the shadowy hands wrapping themselves around them. The crowd surrounds the Imperial Legionnaires, each tribal face twisted in a dastardly grin. Primum stands from across the crowd in a secluded area. He sits on an old wooden crate and gestures for Elpis to join him. People of the South, my men and I are honored by your generous hospitality. I know our history has been bloodied, but our future is bright, Adric says as he approaches the center of the crowd. Their grins twist into maniacal laughter, and they shout, Vash kun dar impera kul, letting off a chilling cheer. Adric gives a sincere smile. His men seem to relax. The crowd once again parts, and an air of quiet tension begins to fester. Thalnoon slowly approaches the prince, escorted by 3 deer-hooded men. My prince, we have prepared you this wine. It is sacred to us. We give you this gift as a sign of our future with the Empire, he says. He pours a glass of wine, takes a deep sip, and hands it to the prince. The deer-hooded men shuffle to the legionnaires, pouring wine into their cups. Elpis looks to Primum and notices he has flicked something. He looks back to the prince and sees a small pebble drop from Adric's cup, almost like a raindrop falling. Primum locks eyes with Adric and taps his thumb over his closed fist. The prince's eyes quickly shift to Primum. I would like to announce a toast. Today you give what you have, this fine wine. It will not go wasted. For because of this, from this day onward, the Empire vows to repay you this kindness in rivers of wine. Adric's men discreetly push their cups aside as Adric takes a dramatic sip. Why aren't you with your people, Primum and Elpis? A woman's voice calls out. Elpis's eyes widen. He stops breathing. Suddenly, One of Aedric's men starts convulsing. He screams, "He sees all! He sees the weave! Our god, the dreamer, sees us! Hail the dreamer!" Aedric draws his sword, his men ready for action. Before Elpis can react to what is happening, the woman has darted toward Primum. Primum draws his axe and guards against her swift blow from jagged daggers. Elpis falls back. "Funny, I don't remember giving you my name." "He sees all," she says, laughing manically. A cloud of black smoke explodes from the woman, swallowing Elpis. The numbness returns. He feels like an observer in his own body as he stumbles out of the smoke. A man armed with 2 massive hand axes screams from atop a bone post, "Vashkun dar impera kul." The crowd charges towards Aedric. His legionnaires rush to his side. Elpis runs for cover, but he feels that pressure of aura around him. Then he turns to the prince for a brief moment, as a blaze erupts around Aedric. "Harpies, slaughter these dogs." The legionnaires scream a rallying cry. "Roar!" Aedric's men leap from the fire, charging toward the crowd of maniacal savages, grinning from ear to ear. The sounds of bodies clash in a loud thud, followed by the ring of steel and the tearing of flesh. Suddenly the woman appears in front of Elpis. "Elpis, come home, baby. We miss you," she says with a sarcastic, loving smile. Elpis attempts to flee, but she moves with unnatural speed and grabs him. Elpis's eyes widen in shock when suddenly Primum swings his axe, cutting through the arm that holds Elpis. She lets out a screech as she explodes into smoke. "To the prince, Elpis!" Elpis's ears ring. He stumbles. He remembers the night when he first escaped. "Don't stop running!" He chokes on the smoke, gasping for more air, only to find more smoke. He stops. "How much further must I run?" He falls to his knees in still, accepting suffering, unable to move. Then he has an odd thought. Thea's parting words. "You must be brave, boy. I know you can make this journey. There is greatness in you, but greatness demands strength and courage." Elpis exhales, his lungs aching. He stands. He steps forward. He opens his eyes. He sees shadows dancing to the sound of steel through the suffocating smoke. He steps forward. He hears the slicing of flesh and bone around him, and the death throes that follow. He runs forward, deeper into the song of steel. His lungs ache, his eyes sting. He dodges shifting shadows as their strikes glance by, but he runs further. He sees flames cutting through the smoke. He darts toward them, sliding his way through the chaos. He leaps through the fire. As he jumps through the wall of flame, he sees a wall of legionnaires armed with shields and spears, and he is inches away from landing onto a spear. "Legionnaire, grab that boy!" In an instant, Elpis is snatched from the air and thrown, sliding across the mud. "Prince, it's a trap! The other tribes are coming!" The prince springs into action, lifting Elpis from the ground in one motion. He moves toward the barricade. "Harpies, push through the smoke and get me a view of the cliff." The legionnaires shout in unison, "Aye." "Ortakion." "Aye," the greyed golden warrior responds. "Are the poisoned secured?" "Aye." "Prodosios." "Aye." "News on the gate?" "Enchanted, sire. We need more time." "Understood. Harpies, forward." "Aye." "Boy, stick behind me." Elpis sticks close to Aedric's shadow as the prince cuts a trail of fire through the smoke. 2 men push through the marching legionnaires and attempt to strike the prince. In one clean slash, Aedric beheads them. "Harpies! Forward formation!" Aedric yells, walking calmly forward. The legionnaires barricade themselves around the forward flame, creating a path for Aedric. Elpis can feel sparks sizzle against his cheeks as an intense wind begins to blow. They move forward through the smoke. A group of 5 warriors waits for the prince. He swiftly dispatches them in 3 precise strikes. Forward! The legionnaires begin closing the path from behind. They encircle the prince and set another barricade against the savages, raving through the smoke. Aedric looks to the cliff. Pathetic dogs! He raises his hand, and a flame begins to roar above them, bright as the sun. Elpis feels his chest tighten, as if someone has grabbed his heart. The feeling soon fades, and he witnesses the flame take shape into a massive harpy. Aedric launches the harpy toward the massive cliff. It bursts into a blazing arc, lighting the valley below. Through a gap in the barricade, Elpis can see a horde charging towards them. "Harpies, withdraw." "Aye!" "In front of me, boy." Elpis complies. Aedric turns his back to the horde, walking calmly as his men push against the charging mass, falling back toward their defensive position. Elpis hears a loud crash. He looks back behind the prince and sees Primum standing atop the woman, pinning her down. She screams madly. Primum swings his axe into her skull. Her blood spills over him. Primum runs towards the prince. The prince gestures to Elpis. Primum nods in respect and runs to the boy. Elpis throws his arms around him. "You're alive." "Won't be if we don't get through that gate. What's going on?" Primum turns to the prince. "It's handled," Aedric says, as he walks past them at a leisurely pace. Suddenly, the gate begins to inch forward. It makes an eerie creak that echoes through the valley. The smoke begins to clear, and Elpis can see legionnaires from the defensive perimeter around the gate inching forward, while the forward line pushes the frenzied tribal warriors back. "He caught them in a trap," Elpis exclaims. "Look at that. A hero at work." They inch the tribesmen closer and closer. Like prey surrounded by hunters, they close in and slaughter them. Primum and Elpis rush toward the defensive perimeter. Elpis turns back to see the prince still walking calmly behind his legionnaires. The horde closes in. Aedric turns and lights an inferno, creating a fierce wall of flame behind him. "Reinforce!" Aedric's men rush behind him, strengthening their dug-in position. Elpis hears a massive thud from a wave of bodies crashing into their righteous steel wall. "Prodosios." "Aye." "Gather your men and wait for my silver wing." "Company leaders." "Aye." "Gather your legionnaires, separate and lose the enemy. Meet at the rendezvous point." Aedric turns to the gate and outstretches his hand. The air around Elpis turns hot. He feels sweat drip and sizzle down his skin. Then he sees a blinding light extend from Aedric. The forest ahead bursts into dancing flame. Primum turns to the prince. "That's a lot of tribesmen. How do you intend to get your men out of there?" "Myself," the prince says quietly. "Need a mercenary for hire." "I did not bring my coin purse, unfortunately." "I am known to do charity work," Primum smirks. Aedric nods. "Ortakeon, grab the boy. Wait for me at the rendezvous." Elpis feels a sudden pull as Ortakeon grabs him. He tries to break loose and run to Primum, but the man's grip holds firm. He sees Primum ready his axe and walk with the prince. "Don't die, Primum! You promised!" Elpis yells as he is carried into the inferno.